Guys, for anyone that was worried, because of course the here we go from Fabrizio Romano came not so long ago, but quite a few people were worried that it would mean that they were stressed that the English media hadn't confirmed it yet, right? I saw a lot of people worried, but you gotta trust that man Fabrizio, because now, and to be fair though, the fee is a lot less than what he initially reported and what everyone initially thought it was gonna be. So David Ornstein, Paul Joyce, any journalist, you name it, in the UK has now confirmed that we've agreed a club record fee of 136.3 million euros. So that is, again, very, very different to the initial 150 million euros that was being reported everywhere, guys. In this market, that's an absolute bargain. And it's 117.5 million euros paid upfront. And then there's going to be a further 18.8 million euros in add-ons, guys. So if all the add-ons are triggered, right? And that's probably good news if they're triggered, because I'll bet you some of the add-ons in the installments are, for example, if Liverpool win the Champions League, Leverkusen get 5 million, something like that. So honestly, if those installments are triggered, trust me, it's good news for Liverpool, because it means that there's team success going around Florian Wirtz. So this is just absolutely fantastic news, you guys. And it seems like he's going to be signing a 5-year deal as well. Hopefully, I'm hoping even for option to extend for a further year, because 5 years, we want him for even more, because he just turned 22, bro, and he's the future. But yeah, guys, the buzz is absolutely there. Obviously, we already had the here we go, so I wasn't stressed whatsoever. But I saw quite a few of you guys in the build and were like, why isn't David Ornstein saying it's done? Why isn't Paul Joyce saying it's done? Well, for anyone that had doubts, today's the day where it got finished. All those doubts got wrapped up, baby. And yeah, like I said, the fee is even better than we expected, you guys. The fee is even better than we expected. It's only a matter of time before Harvey leaves now. He's 100% leaving, in my opinion. Unfortunately, I could see the same thing happening for youngsters like Ben Doak and maybe even Bajcetic. I think definitely Harvey Elliott, because there'll be a lot of suitors this summer. And the way he's spoken in interviews about his future, it seems like he just wants first team football. And I don't see us loaning him out, because he's not at that stage in his career. You know, he could start for many really good teams. So I think Harvey will leave. And like you said, Ben Doak, apparently Everton really want him. So if, let's say, or Crystal Palace are interested too, let's say, you know, a team bids 25 million pounds for Ben Doak, I could see us accepting that. I really could. Because, again, will he get playing time for Liverpool this season? I don't think so. I really don't. So, yeah, there could be a lot of outgoings this summer. And that's why that news that there will be further additions even after these 3 that we've signed, I think the main reason for that is because there will be a lot of outgoings as well. That's one of the big reasons. You know what I mean? Do you see Jota leaving? Because personally, I don't see how he gets much game time now. I think he's, of the attackers, for me, he's the one that's more likely to stay, actually, because I think he'd be okay with a squad role. And he's definitely a player that can have impact off the bench, like we saw against Forest away this season. So I think he could be a great squad player to have in and around the team. And so I actually think he could stay as a squad player. Whereas Darwin, I think he just wants to start at this moment in time, you know, and that's why I don't see him staying. I think there's more of a chance that Lucho leaves, Chiesa, and Darwin. Those 3 for me are the more likely to leave. And I think Gakpo, Salah, and Jota are really likely to stay. But like I said, if, for example, Wolves comes in and bids 40 million pounds for Jota because they need a replacement for Cunha, for example, I could see us accepting that. But it all depends on if a bid comes in where Liverpool thinks it's more than kind of his market value or really fair for his market value, and then we think we can find a replacement. But I doubt that will happen. So probably my guess is that he ends up staying, actually. What lineup do you think Slot will cook? My prediction for next season is I think we could see Alisson, Frimpong, and Frimpong and Connor Barley will interchange, but for now I'm going to say Frimpong. So Alisson, Frimpong, Ibu Konate, Virgil, Kerkez, Maka, Soboslai, Gravenberch, Salah, Wirtz, Luis Diaz. I could see that. Or if Lucho leaves, then Gakpo. But I think that's going to be what our team will look like. And like I said, I think Wirtz will start off in the false 9, but we're going to play a system in possession where he'll have that free roam kind of role. Kind of like Bobby Firmino had free roam kind of deal because of how good he is on the ball and how much of a difference maker he is when you allow him that freedom of space in the middle of the pitch We saw him on the left wing for Germany, and I've been listening to Bundesliga experts who have watched Wirtz a lot for Leverkusen, and they say it's a waste to play him on the left wing. He's much better through the middle. Much better through the middle. Lewis says, I think we should buy a striker this summer. It's impossible for me to say because I don't know what Slot's plans are next season. If we end up playing football like PSG did last season without a striker, I would not be complaining. So I'm not one that's like, oh, if we go into the new season without a proper striker, we're done for. That's not the way I see it. If we find an incredible opportunity in the market to sign a winger instead of a striker that we're not sure about, I'd be all over that. Because like I said, we saw the proof last season that teams without a proper striker can win the whole lot, and that's what PSG did. They won every trophy possible. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm not that like honed in on saying, oh, we have to get a striker. For me, what I'm actually most concerned about right now, I gotta be honest, because it looks like Kirkez will be done. So we've gone incredible business over the line. 3 players that potentially could start for match week 1. What I'm more worried about is the extension of Ibou Konate, because for me, I don't see a replacement in the market for him this summer. So for me, truly, after we get Kirkez over the line, I want us to go all in to extend Ibou Konate. I think he fits us perfectly, and especially with Frimpong playing more and more games at right back, we're going to need a channel defender like him who's extremely fast, who can cover for a right back that likes to fly forward, and that's obviously what Jeremy Frimpong is. So he just suits us perfectly, and in my opinion, that's all I'm focused on. And like I said, with the striker situation, I'm not too fussed. Because like I said, if we end up having a season like PSG did, I'm not complaining, bro. And I have a feeling that Slot was inspired by what he saw. And like I said, I think we're much more focused on what's the opportunities in the market than we need that position. You know, I think we're much more like that. And I think the perfect example is a Florian Wirtz. I'm not so sure that before the summer, we were thinking, I mean, we've been looking at Wirtz apparently since 2020. So he's been a long time target. But I don't think before the summer, everybody was saying, oh, we need to sign a 10. I don't think so. An attacking midfielder. But when Liverpool Football Club saw in the market that a player like Florian Wirtz was available, like I said, who's elite, who's world class at the age of 22, just turned 22, so he was 21 this past season. He's the best player for Germany with Musiala already. We had to go for it. Because like I said, I think we're more interested in having elite players who can shine in different positions than taking a risk on, for example, a Benjamin Sesko, who will cost 100 million euros, who we're just not convinced about, who didn't score that many goals in the Bundesliga, who, yes, has a lot of potential, but he's not someone that we can guarantee comes in and is a difference maker for match week 1. And that's the way I think we'll continue to do our business this summer. We look at the players that could potentially become available, and if they do become available, we go all in for them. That's what I think we're more honed in on. And that's why I think it's very, very unpredictable to know how we're going to set up next season. And I love that, because that just makes it even more difficult for our opponents to set up against us. The levels of excitement I have for next season already, and this season has only just ended, is maybe the most of all time. I feel like a little kid at Christmas right now. I feel like I remember back when I was like 12, and the whole summer, all I could think about was the first match week of the Premier League and getting back to action and finding that ritual of watching Liverpool every single weekend again. And like how much I missed that in the summer. I feel that already, and we're just June 13th, bro. And I feel like a kid right now, and that's the beauty of football. I think it's no matter how old we are, the emotions that we feel with football, and I know even if I see there's Arsenal fans in the building, no matter who you support, that's what's so special about sport. I think it brings out your inner child, and that's how I feel about Liverpool. My goodness, do I feel that. I think if Adam Wharton is another maybe market opportunity where, let's say, he says to Crystal Palace, I want to leave this summer, and maybe we don't necessarily need a 6 this summer. That's not one of our priority positions as reported by a bunch of journalists. That's another example where maybe we think he's that good and has that high of a ceiling, and he's that Premier League proven already, that if he becomes available, we jump the gun and we say, yes, it's maybe not our priority position, but we'll find a way to play him. We'll find a way. Maybe Szoboszlai ends up playing more on the left wing. Who knows? We find a way because he's special, and that's the way I see us doing business this summer. I truly think that's the way, and for example, Jar, I see a lot of people mentioning Jonathan David, who says he would be great, and he is available on a free, but I don't see that one happening. And the reason being, him and his agent will be looking for a club where he starts week in, week out. He was already playing week in, week out for Lille, the star player for Lille, playing in the Champions League, scoring in the Champions League. Why would he go to Liverpool and not be a guaranteed starting striker? And some of you may say, oh no, he can be our starting striker. I don't think he's there yet. I don't think he's there yet. And I spoke to a lot of Lille fans this season. I saw him play live. I went to a Lille game. I went to Lille against Dortmund in the Champions League. He's good, but I don't know if he's quite there to immediately be the starting striker for Liverpool. And even though he's available on a free, it doesn't mean that he wouldn't cost anything. The signing on fees when you sign a free player is expensive. It could be 30 to 40 million, and he's going to be asking for high wages. So it's not like just because he's free, oh, he's like this cheap player. That's just not how it works. So that's not one I think we go for. I got to be honest. I don't see that one happening.